correct my latest. I just wanted to jump on here again, make another point. Actually, it's not really another point. It is the same point. One of the many that I've already made. Same point. We went to that's already been made, and that just needs to be made. Just needs to be remade. It's right here, not this one. Is to try not to think about dating yet and just enjoy life with me and my much earlier. And these dudes refuse to change their better. I feel hopeless intelligence, not something to laugh off. He did so much. They objectify, understand that, and he'll be back to say something like, don't be his own substance. It is wild that so many young ladies are coming to this conclusion before they even really have time to. Before we start, the point that I'm trying to make here in this video is that if you are not brainwashed, you will have known all these things that I am talking about already. You would have known them because you will have been thinking in a way that is natural to you. And the way that is natural to you excludes all these things that are happening. So I just want to make a, I just want to show you an example of that. She is not totally in her right mind yet, but she missed some brainwashed skipped her, which is why what you're about to hear happens. Like, go through the experiences that many women in their 30s and 40s are feeling. This young lady is 19 years old. She says, I hate it so much. They objectify women a lot more than we realize. It's super normalized. When they are together and there's no girl around, they talk about girls in a very disgusting way. Even if the guy's in a relationship, he acts like there's this secret part of him that the girlfriend can't know. The secret part is usually his sexual desires. He may check out other women intentionally or fantasize about someone he knows, all that stuff, but never tell. The secret part is not just his sexual desire. The secret part of him is how much he actually hates women and how much, it's actually three things. How his sexual desires, how much he hates women, and how much he knows women and him are not the same species. He'll never tell the girlfriend. Him and his boys act like they are in one team against the girlfriend. For example, again, they know we are not the same species because in every species is a way to identify your own species. There is a way to identify your own species. So we cannot know that they're not our species because they look outwardly like us. That is why we treat them like we treat them, with trust and love and respect. Yeah, that's why we treat them like we treat them. If they were another species, if we could tell that they are another species, that is when all of that drops. Excuse me, that is when all of that drop off a cliff. It literally falls off a cliff because those things are reserved for your species, for your kind. If the girlfriend is mad at the guy, his boys may. One more thing. This is when you see men with their hairy chest and their hairy backs and their hairy legs and their hairy butts and their face that looks like, they're like somebody's, something that should have been swallowed. This is how it literally makes you disgusted from your stomach. This is why it makes your stomach turn. make fun of it and his relationship. Haha, bro's in trouble. Like, ugh. If your partner is mad at you, keep it private and treat it like an issue to fix, not something to laugh off. They treat their partners poorly. They call them dramatic, irrational, ask them to get over it rather than solving the problem. They claim they prefer peace over fights, but what they actually want is to keep avoiding responsibility and maturity without consequences. They hide so many things from their partners. Many even treat the relationship like a transaction. Sometimes they actually hate their partners. They don't want to spend time with her, talk to her, treat her like a priority. So many women talk about inconsistency from their boyfriends, and it shows. Married ones refuse to share the invisible mental labor. If their wives lash out at them again, they turn it around and call the wife dramatic.
When we say we create personalized hair care products, we mean truly personalized formulas that take into account every little detail.
Honestly, even the supposed nice guys have this subconscious misogyny and low emotional intelligence. With my female friends, I will.
Not subconscious misogyny. It is not subconscious misogyny. This is literally who they are. This is their entire person. It is from the bottom of their toes to the very top of the hair on their heads. It's misogyny in every single cell of them.
Share some problem and they just get it. They understand. With men, I feel like I have to put in so much effort just to explain my feelings and they still wouldn't empathize with me. It's almost not worth it forming a relationship with guys. I didn't go in.
Well, you guys are empathizing with them. They cannot empathize with you. This is what she is seeing. These are the things that I saw doing my research of them when I was trying to be fair to them and I went into their space. I saw they had none, zero. And not only that, I did test after test after test after test. When I changed the way the question is asked, what? When I changed the way I asked the question, the way I approach the question, to change it from something that is already known, right? That is already, like, let's say, conventionally known, so that they can figure out what I'm trying to, the point I'm trying to make, right? And I changed the question in a way so that they cannot figure out what point I'm trying to get to, right? When I did a workaround on the question, I discovered 99.9% of them answered it the exact same way. These males are all the same BS. 99.99% of them answered it the same way. I even asked my own family members. They answered it the same way. They don't give a shit about women. They give less than a shit about women. I am not trying to hear anything about you have a great husband, about you have a great husband and he cares about you. He does not give a shit about you. I ran this test so many times in so many ways on many different questions. They don't give a shit about women. They do not care about you. If you look at how the reproduction, all the things are happening, right, as rights are being taken away, how many of them are fighting? How many of them are suing on women's behalves? I've been observing that. Have you been observing that? They have you have large organizations that have sued on behalf of immigrants, but not one has sued on behalf of women. Are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? Immigrants are a fraction. Immigrants are a fraction of this country's population. Women are half of it. Not one organization is suing on behalf of women. ACLU doesn't sue on behalf of women. They do not do that. You are paying ACLU, giving to them. They do not fight for us. They do not give a shit about you. And the only reason they're able to do that, that you can actually tell these things, is because they don't actually know. They don't actually know that they're being watched. They don't actually know that they're being watched. Watch when somebody says something. Then they will start coming up with all these excuses about why, well, we didn't really sue. They don't give a single shit about us.
in complete vit mode here because honestly, I'm more exhausted than raged at this point. But generally, men are patriarchal, at least slightly misogynistic, and having objectifying or sexual views on women, hide things from their partners and lie to them, etc. My own dad is all of these things, and the relationships and men around me aren't doing anything.
Ladies, all your great dads are these things. If you ever tell me, if you ever said, my dad was great and my mother was not, no, your dad was not great. Your dad doesn't give a shit about you insofar as you are a woman. He cares about you only so that you are his property. But he won't tell you that. Because what? They wear masks. Because they wear masks.
Any better. I feel hopeless, like I just don't want to date anymore. I can't trust men. I'm so tired. Please help me manage these feelings. It's going to be challenging to manage these feelings or to even give tools to challenge these feelings because she's spot on. And
so she noticed all of these things because something about her, her system of, the way, how should I say, the community that she lived in, something about it caused the brainwash to not reach to the extent that it erases every part of her. Now, the reason she's not completely free of brainwash is that she's trying to not hit them. You have to understand that what she's only said right here, what she's only said is just a fraction of what is actually happening. She hasn't touched on the fact that the men are literally murdering women. Just 3 or 4 days ago, right? I read a post about how Miss Switzerland was beheaded. She was blended. Her womb was cut out. Just some gruesome, demonic shit by her husband. She hasn't touched on any of that. She hasn't touched on any of that. She hasn't even touched on the femicide, on the rape, on the exploitation, on the child pornography, on the snuff films, of the rape and murders. She hasn't touched on that. Because if you knew all of this, if you actually took a chance to list out all of these things, and you have to imagine in your brain how many males engage in each of them, you will not on your life want to be attached to one of those things. Period, point blank. That is just some of the brainwash that she hasn't figured out. Brainwash that she's dealing with. Because how can you see all of these things and you still want to be part of them? And you still want to be attached to one of these things?
And she's seen
it literally takes all I can to not cry, to not break down and cry, to hear that women are still marrying and producing these creatures. It takes all in me to not break down and cry.
all of this at 19. She sees it in her dad. She sees it in the relationships with the women around her and how they deal with boyfriends. She sees it just with men in general at 19 years old. Imagine being this aware that early, how many obstacles we could have avoided. But the women of right now, the young ladies of right now, they are getting it much earlier. And these dudes refuse to change their behaviors and adapt. The manipulation tactics, the lying by omission, the weaponized incompetence just to make sure you continue to do the things that they don't want to do. It's all becoming too much. And women are not feeling this. This is the reason why they are opting out so young. So Single Golf says, your feelings are totally valid and I get
again, Burp is still missing it. Like there's so much more going on. See, every single one of these males who are engaging in these things, right? They are, if most of them are not doing the killing and murdering and all that stuff, right? Most of them are not doing that. But most of them are engaging in some kind of deviancy that is exploiting women and children. Right? So if we imagine that there, in the last 2 or 3 years or so, there have been like about 7 websites that came up where there were hundreds of thousands of men. Each of them had hundreds of thousands of men who were posting pictures and all kinds of deviancy about their wives, their girlfriends, their moms, their daughters, their sisters, their cousins, their nieces, right? All kinds of things happening. Yeah. So Burke is not even touching on that, and those are just 7. There are. I think about the total of them. Was about. I remember one that was like 700,000, and then the rest of them are about a couple 100,000 each, right? So that would be about 21, 21, right? 2.1 million or so, right? Okay. Let me do that. Let me do that math real quick. I don't know what I said it was so long. Yeah, 1.2,700,000. Okay. Okay, so that would be like 1.9 million, right? So that would be about 1.9 million males. And that was just 7 websites alone. There are 4.1 billion males. Let me repeat that. There are 4.1 billion males, which means that the level of exposure that we have seen, the level that has been exposed, is not even 1%. Do you understand how crazy that is? So,
omission, the weapon.
yeah. And then I did this thing where I wanted to expose exactly how males, like the amount of males that are actually engaging in these things that think the same way. Amount of males that actually think the same way. And I thought about where would this stat be, where would it be duplicated? And then it came to me one day, video games. And I thought, if you looked up how many downloads on video games, you would probably be closest. That is probably what is going to be the closest number you could ever get to on how many males are actually doing this. And so I looked up the stat for like about, let's see, is it 2 or 3 or 5 of them? And I was able to gather about 5 billion downloads. You guys, 5 billion downloads. And that wasn't even like a wide range of them. That was not a wide range of them. Oh, goodness gracious. I don't think y'all even understand what that even means. I don't think y'all understand what that even means. From just 5 alone, how many games are there in about every corner of the world? How many games? If we were to calculate all of that, right? If we were to take a statistic on all of that, how many downloads? Figure out like a factor of how many males, like what percentage of females are into video games, right? And then the percentage of people who change phones every year, which means that these games are going to be re-downloaded, etc., or we change phones, which means that they're going to be like maybe re-downloaded, right? And what percentage of them are duplicating, have multiple games, right? Once we can factor in those 4 major things, those things that we call the 4 major major effects on that particular data, you will actually get to see that it is almost all of them. It is almost all of them. So if all these males think the same thing, if all these males think the same way, and they all like these violent games, and the reason it matters, whereas when women are engaging in these things too, right? It's because we see that women are not overtly violent, right? There is not a pattern with women. There is not a pattern with women, okay? And so that means that even the women that are going to be downloading these games, right? Their percentage is going to be much smaller than the males. The reason that's why we can ignore the women as what? As outliers. They want to make you believe that women are like this too. They're not. They want to make you believe that, that is just, those men are outliers. They are not outliers. This is the real male behavior. This is the real male behavior. The problem is, the part of the problem is that they have convinced us to walk into their mouths. They have convinced us to pray, to willingly walk into their mouths, so that they no longer have to overtly behave like this. They no longer have to overtly behave like this. And even when we do that, even when we walk into their mouths, look at what we are still dealing with. Egypt reported, what is the percentage of marriage in Egypt? Egyptian women report 99.4 sexual assault. 99.4, which is just 100%. That's just another way to say 100%. And yeah. Yeah, we are in dire straits. We are in dire straits. And what Burke and Bougie and other women who continue to just use these, these domestic duty things, these marriage stats as the data, they don't understand the actual problem. They don't understand the actual problem.
Incompetence just to make sure you continue to do the things that they don't want to do. It's all becoming too much, and women are not feeling this. This is the reason why they are opting out so young. So Single Golf says, your feelings are totally valid, and I get why you don't want to date anymore. Most men are weird. And because of it, the one way I would try to keep being positive is to try not to think about dating yet and just enjoy life with me and my friends. Because with hanging out with your friends, you'll feel safe. All the best of luck for you. Show Boxer at the bottom says, what I hope for women your age is that you find your Golden Girl squad and start building that with each other rather than the heteronormative image being pushed. You could still have romantic hetero relationships if you desired. You could even still have kids, but
listen to this. You have to understand how these women are brainwashed, okay? She just listed all the things that men don't like women. And she said, well, okay, you can still have a relationship with people who don't like you. Imagine thinking about women who don't like you, like a clique of women who don't like you, and you still want a relationship with them. This is mental illness that these women are dealing with here. This is mental illness. You could still have a heterosexual relationship with creatures who despise you. This is crazy. This is literal mental illness.
You do not have to include a man as a half-say partner financially and cohabitating enmeshment if that isn't improving your life. And maybe groups could go in on apartment buildings or buying up cul-de-sacs, build whole communities that minimize vulnerabilities in the ways current hetero partnerships tend to have. So these women are coming up with game plans and brainstorming ways to avoid men and just work together as women can. This is not going to shape up well for these men because these men don't do that well without women partners, but they have pushed women away so badly that the men are going to have to figure something out. And then they do things like try to shame women for not wanting to be in relationships versus just improve and be the type of partners that...
No. Burp is totally wrong. The men do not have to figure something out, okay? The men, their entire claim to fame is that they are going to violence women. That's why they don't have to. That's why they have the luxury of not changing. Because the idea is to force women. I don't think women simply don't get this. They don't have to change because they're just going to force you. You are going to love them, right? Whether you like it or not, or you are going to die. Period. That is why they do not have to change. That is why they do not have to do anything that women do. That is why they have to. That is why they can come up with all kinds of strategies to escape all of these things, to hide themselves, because they are literally forcing us. That is part of the coercion. That is part of the forcing mechanism, right? They are going to force us. The entire point of predatory behavior is that you do not get to have a choice. You do not get to have a choice and think you would get to live. You do not get to have a choice and live. That is the entire point of predation. You do not get a choice. That is why they're taking our rights away. And Burke is delusional to think that women are just going to figure out something. Yes, they're going to figure out how to murder a bunch of women. That is what they're going to do. Anyway, that's it for now. I just wanted to jump on here and say this really quickly.